Amara Johnson, a 29-year-old Black American woman, sat at her desk in the sleek Manhattan office of Pinnacle Holdings, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with the rhythm of a seasoned marketing analyst. The hum of Harlem, where she'd grown up, still pulsed in her veins, a vibrant mix of jazz, community, and resilience that fueled her ambition. At 5'6", with deep brown skin and tightly coiled hair pulled into an elegant bun, Amara carried herself with a quiet strength, her dark eyes sharp with focus. Yet today, her focus wavered, interrupted by the voice she'd come to dread. Still pining for me. Amara Derrick, her 30-year-old ex-boyfriend and Pinnacle's sales manager, leaned against a nearby cubicle, his smirk cutting through the office chatter. His light brown skin and tailored suit did little to mask the arrogance in his tone. 6 months after their breakup, Derrick still found ways to taunt her, his words laced with resentment. He'd constantly belittled her dreams of rising beyond her analyst role, dismissing her late nights studying at NYU on a hard-earned scholarship. He'd once said, "You'll never outshine me," and now he seemed determined to prove it. Amara's jaw tightened, but she kept typing, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a reaction. Growing up in Harlem, raised by her single mother Nia, who ran a community center, Amara learned to navigate challenges gracefully. Her mother's mantra, "Your worth isn't in their words, it's in your work," echoed in her mind. But Derrick's taunts stung especially here in a corporate world, where she often felt like an outsider, her blackness and ambition scrutinized by colleagues who mistook her drive for aggression. The office was excited for Pinnacle's annual gala at the Four Seasons, a glitzy event where everyone brought a date to mingle with executives and clients. Amara could already picture Derrick strutting in with a new girlfriend, flashing that smug grin, whispering to colleagues that she was still hung up on him. The thought made her stomach churn, not out of longing, but defiance. She'd left Derrick to reclaim her life, not to be his punching bag. Something inside her snapped. Enough was enough. If you're watching this from Harlem, Brooklyn, or anywhere else, drop your city in the comments below. Let's see where Amara's story resonates. She'd say, if this were her tale to narrate, it would be a nod to the community that shaped her. Amara grabbed her phone, her fingers moving with purpose. She typed into the search bar, "Corporate Event Companion, Discreet New York." Profiles popped up, but one caught her eye. Ethan Companion for social events, $500. Professional, adaptable, no complications. The photo showed Ethan Caldwell, a 32-year-old white American man with piercing blue eyes, neatly trimmed brown hair, and a tailored dark suit that screamed executive, not escort. His pale skin and sharp jawline gave him a polished, almost cinematic presence, but the $500 fee seemed oddly low for someone who looked like he belonged on Wall Street. "Why so cheap?" Amara muttered, frowning. The profile was sparse, no flashy promises, just a promise of elegance and discretion. Something about it felt off, but her need to outshine Derrick overrode her doubts. She sent a message. "Need a date for a corporate gala tomorrow night. $500 confirmed. Can we meet today to discuss details?" The reply came in minutes. "Confirmed. 7:00 p.m. You choose the place." Amara picked a cozy Brooklyn cafe, far from Pinnacle's prying eyes, and felt a surge of control for the first time that day. If you love Amara's bold move, hit that like button to cheer her on. She'd urge, rallying her imaginary audience. At 6:58 p.m., Amara stepped into the cafe, its warm lighting and soft jazz starkly contrasting with the sterile office. Her emerald dress hugged her curves deliberately, echoing her mother's favorite color, symbolizing resilience. She ordered a chamomile tea and sat by the window, her stomach fluttering not from fear, but from the audacity of her plan. Amara Johnson was about to hire a stranger to pose as her boyfriend. It was a move her younger self, organizing fundraisers at her mom's community center, would have never imagined. But Derek had pushed her too far, and she was ready to fight back. At exactly 7:00 p.m., Ethan Caldwell walked in, his 6'2" frame commanding the room. His pale skin glowed under the cafe's lights, and his dark gray suit fit like it was made for him. His blue eyes scanned the room, landing on her with a calm intensity. "Amara," he asked, his voice smooth, with a faint upstate New York lilt. She stood steady despite her nerves. "Ethan." He nodded, offering a warm, confident handshake. "Let's get to it," Amara said, pulling out her phone with notes. "The gala's tomorrow at the Four Seasons. I need you to be my boyfriend for 2 months. No surprises, no improvising." Ethan listened, his posture impeccable, nodding as she outlined their backstory. They met at a bookstore near Central Park when she dropped a book, and he, a consultant, charmed her into dinner. Simple, believable enough to shut Derek up. "Got it," Ethan said, his tone professional but warm. "We met at Books and Brew, talked for hours, and you liked my taste in classic novels." Amara raised an eyebrow. "You're quick. Done this before?" "A few times," he said, a small smile playing on his lips. "Not everything's about money, Amara." The line hung in the air, intriguing her. If you're as curious about Ethan as Amara is, subscribe and hit the bell to follow their story, she'd say, winking at her audience. As they rehearsed details, how he won her over with thoughtful gestures, his dislike for soccer to spite Derek's obsession. Amara noticed Ethan's ease with corporate lingo when she mentioned Pinnacle. "What kind of consultant are you?" she asked, probing. "Independent, primarily finance?" he replied, vague but polished. His knowledge felt too natural for a hired date, and his suit looked too expensive for $500 gigs. As they parted, Ethan handed her a card. "If things get tricky tomorrow, say white wine 3 times. You won't need to worry." Amara tucked the card away, puzzled but intrigued. Walking home through Brooklyn's lively streets, she felt a spark of anticipation. She'd hired Ethan to play a role, but something told her this was the start of something bigger. What do you think of Amara's plan? Drop a 110 score in the comments, and let's see if you're rooting for her. She'd call out, ready for the gala and whatever Ethan Caldwell was hiding. Amara Johnson sipped her chamomile tea, the warmth of the Brooklyn cafe wrapping around her like a familiar embrace. The place, tucked on a bustling corner of Flatbush Avenue, hummed with the borough's energy locals, chatting over espresso, the faint pulse of reggae drifting from a nearby speaker. She glanced at her phone. 6:59 p.m. Her notes app glowed with the script she'd crafted for tomorrow's gala at the Four Seasons, where she'd parade Ethan Caldwell as her boyfriend to silence Derek's taunts. The thought of Derek's smug face fueled her determination, but a flicker of doubt crept in. Was hiring a stranger reckless? She pushed it aside. This was about reclaiming her power, not just at Pinnacle Holdings, but in the life she'd fought for since her Harlem upbringing. At 7:00 p.m., Ethan entered the door, his dark gray suit catching the cafe's soft light. His blue eyes found her immediately, and he crossed the room with a confidence that felt both practiced and effortless. Amara stood smoothing her emerald dress and extended a hand. "Ethan," she said, her voice steady, despite the butterflies in her stomach. He nodded, his handshake warm and firm. "Amara, pleasure to meet you." His faint upstate accent softened the formality, hinting at a grounded past that intrigued her. They sat, and she dove in no time for small talk. "The gala's tomorrow, 8:00 p.m., Four Seasons. You've been my boyfriend for 2 months. We met at Books and Brew near Central Park when I dropped a novel, and you, a consultant, charmed me into dinner. Stick to the script, no surprises." Ethan leaned back, a half smile playing on his lips as he listened. 2 months ago, I picked up your copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God at Books and Brew. We talked literature, and I asked you out. I'm a freelance consultant, travel often, and hate soccer despite your ex. Sound right?" His recall was sharp, almost too perfect, and Amara raised an eyebrow. "You're good at this. Done it a lot." Ethan's smile deepened, but his eyes held a guarded glint. "A few times. Enough to know it's not always about the money." The line landed oddly like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. If you're wondering what Ethan's hiding, drop a guess in the comments below. "Let's see who cracks the mystery first," Amara would say, grinning at an imaginary audience. She pulled up her notes detailing their fake romance he'd won her over, with thoughtful gestures like remembering her love for jazz over flashy gifts. Ethan nodded, asking pointed questions. "Pinnacle Holdings marketing division, right? What's the company culture like? I need to blend in." His interest in her work felt genuine, but his ease with corporate terms like market positioning and brand equity made her pause. Most escorts wouldn't know about Pinnacle's restructuring last year, yet Ethan seemed to follow effortlessly. "You talk like you've worked in finance, not just consulting," she said, probing. He shrugged, his expression unreadable. "I've dabbled in a few industries. Keeps things interesting." Amara's mind flashed to her career. At Pinnacle, she'd clawed her way up from intern to analyst, her NYU degree, a testament to late nights and her mother's sacrifices. She dreamed of leading campaigns that mattered, maybe for community-driven brands, not just corporate giants. Derek's dismissal of her ambitions had stung, but she was done letting him define her. Hiring Ethan was a bold step to project confidence at the gala where executives judged every move. If you're rooting for Amara to shine at the gala, smash that like button, she'd urge, rallying her unseen supporters. They spent 40 minutes refining their story. Ethan suggested small touches. He'd hold her hand, subtly mention a fictional jazz club date to sell their chemistry. His attention to detail was impressive, but his vague answers about himself, where he lived, what he did outside consulting, kept her on edge. "You're mysterious, Ethan," she said, half teasing, half serious. He chuckled, his eyes locking with hers. "And you're direct. I like that." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was charged like the moment before a storm. Amara felt a pull, a spark she hadn't expected. Was this just his charm or something more? As they wrapped up, Ethan slid a small card across the table. "If things get dicey at the gala, say if Derek pushes too far, say white wine 3 times. I'll handle it." Amara tucked the card into her purse, raising an eyebrow. A code word. Really? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes, just a precaution. "You'll be fine." She stood, grabbing her coat, and glanced back as she headed for the door. Ethan watched her go, his posture relaxed, but his gaze intense. The Brooklyn night buzzed around her as she walked home, the city's energy mirroring her own. Ethan Caldwell wasn't just a hired date. He was a question mark in a tailored suit, and she was determined to figure him out. Back in her Harlem apartment, Amara replayed their meeting. Ethan's polished demeanor, his cryptic "not about the money" comment, and the way he seemed to know more about Pinnacle than he let on, gnawed at her. She opened her laptop, tempted to Google him, but stopped. Tomorrow was about outshining Derek, not chasing mysteries. Yet as she lay in bed, her mother's words echoed, "Trust your instincts, Amara." Her instincts screamed that Ethan was more than he seemed. Amara Johnson stood in her Harlem apartment, the faint hum of the city filtering through her open window. The small space, adorned with vibrant prints and a shelf of well-worn books, was her sanctuary, a testament to her journey from a community center kid to a marketing analyst at Pinnacle Holdings. She adjusted the emerald dress hanging on her closet door, its rich hue a nod to her mother, Nia's favorite color, a symbol of resilience that had carried Amara through years of challenges. Tonight, she'd wear it to the Four Seasons Gala to outshine her ex Derek and reclaim her place in a world that often tried to box her in. As she prepared, her mind drifted to her roots, the fire that fueled her bold decision to hire Ethan Caldwell for $500. Growing up in Harlem, Amara had watched her mother pour her heart into the community center, organizing after-school programs and fundraisers for kids like her. Nia's mantra, "Your worth isn't in their words, it's in your work," had been Amara's compass. Money was tight, but Nia ensured Amara had books, dreams, and a belief in herself. At 16, Amara organized her first fundraiser, raising $2,000 for art supplies, her knack for persuasion shining through. That spark led her to NYU, where a scholarship and late-night study sessions earned her a marketing degree. She'd dreamed of crafting campaigns that uplifted communities, not just sold products, but Pinnacle's corporate grind often left her pitching soulless ad strategies instead. Derek had been part of that grind. They'd met at Pinnacle, his charm initially disarming. But his support turned to scorn as Amara's ambitions grew. He'd say, "You're reaching too high," dismissing her ideas for socially conscious campaigns as unrealistic. Their breakup 6 months ago was her liberation. But Derek's taunts lingered, each one a jab at her confidence. The gala was his stage to flaunt and belittle his new girlfriend, and Amara refused to let him win. Hiring Ethan wasn't just about appearances, but proving she could take control, just as she had when she'd rallied her neighborhood to save the community center from budget cuts. If you're feeling Amara's fire drop, Harlem strong in the comments, and let's cheer her on, she'd say, rallying her imaginary audience. Amara's thoughts shifted to Ethan. Their cafe meeting last night had left her unsettled. His polished suit, sharp questions about Pinnacle, and cryptic note about money didn't add up for a $500 escort. She'd almost Googled him, but stopped, wary of diving too deep before the gala. Still, his blue eyes and easy confidence had stirred something, a mix of curiosity and attraction she wasn't ready to admit. Was he a professional charmer, or was there more beneath the surface? Her instincts, honed by years navigating Harlem streets and corporate boardrooms, told her he was hiding something big. What's your guess about Ethan's secret? Toss it in the comments below. She'd urge, her voice echoing the suspense she felt. She sat at her small kitchen table, sipping coffee and reviewing her gala strategy. The event wasn't just a social affair, but a chance to network with Pinnacle's executives, like COO Richard Hayes, who could greenlight her pitch for a community-focused campaign. She'd been drafting it for months, a partnership with local nonprofits to promote sustainable brands aligning Pinnacle's image with social good. Derek threatened to overshadow her, but with Ethan by her side, she'd project confidence, not desperation. She imagined walking into the Four Seasons, Ethan's arm in hers, heads turning as she owned the room. If you're hyped for Amara's big night, smash that like button. She'd call out, picturing her supporters cheering. Amara's phone buzzed, a text from her best friend Keisha, now in Chicago. "You hired a date. Bold move, girl." Amara smiled, typing back, "Go big or go home." Keisha's encouragement reminded her of their NYU days, when they'd stay up late dreaming of changing the world. Keisha had pushed her to apply for Pinnacle, believing in her when Derek didn't. That belief fueled Amara now. She wasn't just fighting Derek's ego. She was fighting for the version of herself who'd stood on a Harlem stage at 16, rallying a crowd. Ethan was her ally in this battle, but she'd need to stay sharp to navigate his mystery and the gala's high stakes. She stood, slipping on her coat to head to work. The morning air was crisp, Harlem streets alive with vendors and kids laughing on their way to school. Amara felt a surge of resolve. Tonight, she'd wear her mother's strength in that emerald dress, channel her community's spirit, and face Derek with her head high. Ethan Caldwell, whoever he was, would play his part. But this was her story. As she boarded the subway, the city's rhythm pulsed through her. Amara Johnson stepped into the Four Seasons Grand Ballroom, her emerald dress catching the soft glow of chandeliers. The Manhattan skyline sparkled beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, a reminder of the city's relentless ambition. A pulse she felt in her bones forged in Harlem's vibrant streets. Ethan Caldwell, impeccable in a tailored black suit, offered his arm, his blue eyes steady with quiet confidence. Amara took it, her heart pounding not from nerves, but from the thrill of taking control. Tonight, she'd face Derek, her ex, and Pinnacle Holdings elite, proving she was more than their whispers or her past. The gala buzzing with executives and clinking wine glasses was her stage. The room was a tapestry of New York's corporate world suits, mingling with sequined dresses, jazz standards floating from a live quartet. Amara spotted colleagues from Pinnacle, their glances a mix of curiosity and envy. Ethan leaned in, his voice low. "You're tense. Breathe. We've got this." His calm grounded her, and she nodded, straightening her shoulders. Their rehearsed story 2 months together. A bookstore meet-cute felt solid, but Ethan's ease in this high-stakes setting stirred her suspicions. He moved like he belonged here, unlike a hired date for $500. If you feel Amara's vibe tonight, drop a "she's got this" in the comments. She'd say, rallying her imagined crowd. They approached Tanya from HR, who was beaming near the welcome table. "Amara, you look stunning." "And who's this?" Her eyes sparkled with gossip. "Ethan, my boyfriend," Amara said smoothly. Ethan extended a hand, his charm effortless. "Pleasure, Tanya. Amara speaks highly of you." Tanya practically melted. 2 months. "How'd you meet Ethan?" recounted their books and brew story with a warm smile, adding, "She dropped. Their eyes were watching God. And we debated Zora Neale Hurston for hours." Tanya sighed, charmed. Amara felt pride. Ethan was flawless, but his polish raised questions. Was he playing a role, or was this just him? The crowd parted, and Derek appeared. His tailored suit, a familiar sight from their shared past. His new girlfriend, a blonde in a red dress, clung to his arm, but his eyes locked on Amara, his smirk venomous. "Trying to impress me, Amara," he said loud enough for nearby colleagues to turn. His jab wasn't just personal. It was rooted in his insecurity. Amara's rising star at Pinnacle threatened his ego, especially after she'd outshone him in a recent campaign pitch. "Not everything's about you, Derek," she shot back, her voice cool. Ethan stepped closer, his presence a quiet shield. "Ethan, her boyfriend." "And you are?" His tone was polite but sharp, cutting through Derek's bravado. Derek's smile faltered, and his handshake with Ethan was tense. Derek's sales manager, Amara's ex. Ethan didn't flinch. "Current boyfriend. Nice to meet you." The air crackled, and Amara felt a rush of satisfaction as Derek's girlfriend tugged him away, his confidence shaken. If you love this showdown, hit that like button to cheer Amara on. She'd call out, savoring the moment. They moved through the room, Ethan engaging colleagues with ease, from finance's Paul to marketing's Lena, his knowledge of corporate trends almost too sharp. When Paul mentioned Pinnacle's restructuring, Ethan asked, "How's the new investor strategy working?" Amara's ears perked up. How did he know about that? The night took a turn when Richard Hayes, Pinnacle's COO, approached, his gray hair and commanding presence unmistakable. "Caldwell," he said, squinting at Ethan. "Related to Caldwell Ventures." Amara froze, her suspicions flaring. Ethan smiled, deflecting. "Common name Richard. I'm just a consultant. Richard chuckled but lingered, his gaze probing. Maybe, but you've got a Wall Street look. Amara's mind raced Caldwell Ventures. She'd Googled it briefly, finding a $2 billion investment firm, but dismissed it. Now Richard's comment planted a seed. What do you think Ethan's hiding? Drop your theories in the comments and subscribe to find out. She'd urge, her curiosity echoing her audience's. Ethan's hand was steady on her waist as they danced to a slow jazz tune, and Amara whispered, "You handled Derek well." But Caldwell Ventures, what was that about? Ethan spun her gently, his expression unreadable, just a coincidence. Let's enjoy the night. His evasion frustrated her, but his touch sent a warmth she couldn't ignore. Derek watched from the bar, his glare burning, but Amara felt untouchable. The gala was hers, and Ethan was her perfect partner for now. As they left the city lights glittering below, she knew this night was just the beginning. Something bigger was coming, and she was ready to face it. Amara Johnson sat at her desk in Pinnacle Holdings' Manhattan office the morning after the Four Seasons Gala, her mind a whirlwind of questions. The Harlem hustle outside, street vendors calling subway rumbles, felt distant as she replayed last night's events. Ethan Caldwell had been the perfect fake boyfriend, outshining Derek and charming her colleagues, but Richard Hayes's comment about Caldwell Ventures lingered like a neon sign. Was Ethan just a consultant, or was he tied to a $2 billion investment firm? Her instincts, sharpened by years navigating corporate politics, screamed. He was more than he seemed. She needed answers. The office buzzed with post-gala chatter, but Amara kept her focus, her fingers hovering over her laptop. She'd resisted Googling Ethan last night, wanting to savor her triumph over Derek. But Richard's words, "You've got a Wall Street look," changed that. She typed Caldwell Ventures into the search bar, her heart racing. The results loaded a sleek website for a New York-based investment firm managing $2 billion in assets, founded in 2019 by Ethan Caldwell. No executive photos, just a bio. E. Caldwell, founder, former Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley strategist. Amara's breath caught. Was her $500 escort a billionaire CEO? If you're as shocked as Amara, drop "mind blown" in the comments, she'd say, rallying her imaginary audience. She scrolled further, finding articles on Caldwell Ventures' discreet deals, acquiring stakes in tech startups, green energy firms, and Pinnacle Holdings. A financial blog mentioned a 15% share purchase last year, tying Ethan directly to her company. Why would a CEO moonlight as a hired date? Amara's mind spun with possibilities: a hobby, a cover, or something shadier. Her marketing analyst brain kicked in, used to piecing together consumer trends. Ethan's polished suit ease with Pinnacle's restructuring talk and cryptic note about money lines pointed to a double life. What's Ethan's game? Toss your theories in the comments and subscribe to see if you're right. She'd urge, her curiosity infectious. Amara's phone buzzed a text from Ethan Lunch to review last night. Same cafe, 12:30. Her pulse quickened. She needed to confront him, but first she sought insight from Paul, Pinnacle's finance whiz, who'd chatted with Ethan at the gala. She found him in the break room sipping coffee. "Paul, what did you make of Ethan last night?" she asked casually. Paul's eyes lit up. "Your guy's sharp. He knew about Pinnacle's investor shift and dropped hedge fund terms like he runs one. Not your average consultant." Amara's stomach twisted. Paul's words echoed her findings. Ethan wasn't just dabbling in finance, he was entrenched. If you're digging Amara's sleuthing, hit that like button, she'd call out, energized by her quest. At 12:25, Amara entered the Brooklyn Cafe, its reggae beat and warm lights familiar. Ethan was already in the navy shirt that deepened his blue eyes, looking more relaxed, but no less polished. "Punctual," she said, sliding into the seat. "Always," he replied, a half-smile flickering. She cut to the chase. "Last night you were too good. Richard mentioned Caldwell Ventures. Ring a bell." Ethan's expression stayed calm, but his fingers paused on his coffee cup. "It's a common name, Amara. I'm a consultant, like I said." His deflection frustrated her, but his steady gaze stirred that unwanted spark from the gala. She pressed further. "You knew about Pinnacle's restructuring. Paul said you talked like a Wall Street pro. What's your real deal, Ethan?" He leaned forward, his voice low. "I've worked in finance at Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley for a few years. Now I do independent consulting. That's it." Amara studied him, sensing truth, but also omission. "Why the $500 gigs then?" "A hobby." Ethan's smile was tight. "Sometimes I need a break from the corporate grind. Meeting people like you with no strings attached is refreshing." His words felt sincere, but didn't explain a billionaire's penthouse lifestyle. "Why do I feel like you're holding back?" she asked, her Harlem-honed instincts flaring. Ethan sighed, glancing out the window at Flatbush Avenue's bustle. "Amara, I value privacy. I'm not here to complicate your life, but to help with Derek." His evasion stung, but his mention of Derek reminded her of her stakes. She'd pitched a community-focused campaign to Pinnacle's execs, hoping to align their brand with local nonprofits. Ethan's performance last night had boosted her visibility, but his secrets threatened her focus. "Fine," she said, standing. "Stick to the script tomorrow if we need a follow-up. But I'm watching you." Ethan nodded, his eyes unreadable. "Fair enough." As Amara left, the city's rhythm pulsed through her. She'd uncovered a piece of Ethan's puzzle, but the whole picture eluded her. She'd dig deeper at her Harlem apartment, but for now she felt a mix of triumph and unease. Ethan was no ordinary escort, and she was stepping into something bigger than a gala stunt. Amara Johnson strode into Pinnacle Holdings' Manhattan office, the city's morning pulse horns blaring, street vendors shouting, fading behind the glass doors. Her Harlem roots grounded her, but the weight of yesterday's discoveries about Ethan Caldwell pressed on her mind. Caldwell Ventures, a $2 billion investment firm tied to Pinnacle, and Ethan's vague consulting excuse didn't add up. She'd confronted him at the Brooklyn Cafe, but his half-answers left her wary. Still, the gala had been a triumph, her emerald dress and Ethan's charm silencing Derek's taunts. She sat at her desk, ready to refine her pitch for a community-focused marketing campaign, hoping to impress COO Richard Hayes. But trouble was brewing. The office hummed with tension, colleagues' whispers trailing her like shadows. Tanya from HR avoided her gaze, and Paul from finance shot her a sympathetic look. Amara's inbox pinged a cold email from Richard: urgent, meeting 11:30 a.m. My office. Her stomach sank. Richard's usual warmth was absent, replaced by corporate formality. She opened her campaign draft, a plan to partner Pinnacle with Harlem nonprofits for sustainable branding, channeling her mother's community spirit. But her focus wavered, Ethan's secrets and the gala's aftermath gnawing at her. If you're sensing trouble for Amara, drop "uh-oh" in the comments, she'd say, her voice tinged with suspense for her imagined audience. At 11:25, Amara knocked on Richard's door, her posture steady despite her nerves. Inside, Richard sat sternly behind his desk, Tanya beside him clutching a folder. "Sit, Amara," Richard said, his tone clipped. "We've received concerning information about your boyfriend, Ethan Caldwell." Amara's heart raced. What about him? Tanya slid papers across the desk, her expression uneasy. Someone investigated Ethan after the gala. There are allegations of shady financial dealings, shell companies, unreported transactions. Pinnacle can't have employees tied to questionable figures. Amara's mind flashed to Derek. This was his doing a petty revenge for her outshining him at the gala. "Derek's behind this, isn't he?" she said, her voice sharp. Richard sighed. "That's not the point. Our reputation is at stake." Amara leaned forward, her Harlem-honed resolve kicking in. "This is ridiculous. Ethan's a consultant, not a criminal. Who's making these claims?" Tanya hesitated. "It came from within the company anonymously. But the board's concerned. Your position could be at risk." Amara's blood boiled. Derek's taunts at the gala weren't just ego. He'd been humiliated by her success, especially after she'd outpitched him for a major client last quarter. His insecurity, rooted in her rising star, had turned vindictive, weaponizing lies to sabotage her. "You're saying I could be fired over rumors?" Amara asked, her voice steady, but laced with fury. Richard's gaze softened, but his words were firm. "End the relationship publicly, Amara. Distance yourself from Ethan, and this stays quiet. Otherwise, we'll have to take steps to protect Pinnacle." "You have until 500 p.m. Amara stood, her hands trembling. "This is blackmail." "It's corporate protection," Richard corrected. Tanya added, "We value you, Amara. That's why we're handling this privately." But Amara saw through it, that Pinnacle's cutthroat culture, where her ambition was admired and scrutinized, had no room for scandal. She stormed back to her desk, the office's sterile hum mocking her. Derek's revenge wasn't just personal. It was professional sabotage, targeting her dream of leading meaningful campaigns. She'd fought too hard through NYU's late nights, her mother's sacrifices to let him win. Yet Ethan's secrecy complicated everything. If he was tied to Caldwell Ventures, why hide it? Was he using her to get to Pinnacle? The thought stung, echoing Derek's betrayal. If you're mad at Derek's scheme, smash that like button to back Amara. She'd call out, channeling her anger to her unseen supporters. Amara grabbed her phone, tempted to call Ethan, but hesitated. She needed proof, not promises. Opening her laptop, she dug deeper into Caldwell Ventures. A financial article confirmed Ethan as founder, detailing his rise from a small upstate town to Wall Street. Why would a billionaire play escort? Her mind raced. Maybe he craved authenticity, as he'd hinted. Or maybe there was more to his interest in Pinnacle. Her campaign pitch sat open, a reminder of her stakes. She'd poured her heart into it, envisioning a legacy like her mother's community center. Derek's lies threatened that, but Ethan's secrets could unravel it all. As she left for lunch, the Manhattan streets buzzed with life food carts, jazz buskers, reminding her of Harlem's resilience. She'd face this head-on, just as she'd faced every challenge. But first, she needed to confront Ethan, not as a fake girlfriend, but as a woman demanding the truth. Amara Johnson sat at her desk in Pinnacle Holdings' Manhattan office, her heart racing from the morning's confrontation. Richard's ultimatum: end her relationship with Ethan Caldwell, or risk her job, burned in her mind, a corporate dagger wielded by Derek's vindictive rumors. The Harlem streets outside, alive with music and chatter, felt like a distant echo of her resolve. Her campaign pitch for a community-focused partnership with local nonprofits, a dream rooted in her mother's community center, was now at risk. Ethan's secrets tied to Caldwell Ventures and Pinnacle's investors complicated everything. She gripped her phone, debating whether to call him, when a commotion erupted in the lobby below. Voices rose sharp, authoritative, and footsteps echoed. Amara stood peering through the office window to the main lobby. Ethan strode in, his tailored black suit contrasting with the casual confidence she'd seen in the Brooklyn cafe. His blue eyes burned with purpose, flanked by 3 men in suits, one clutching a briefcase. He spoke to the receptionist, his tone commanding. "I need Richard Hayes now." The receptionist stammered. "Do you have an appointment?" Ethan's response stopped Amara cold. "I'm Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Ventures. I don't need one." Her breath caught. CEO. The truth she'd suspected was now undeniable. If you're stunned by Ethan's reveal, drop "whoa" in the comments. She'd say, her shock rippling to her imagined audience. Amara rushed downstairs, reaching the lobby as Richard appeared, flanked by Tanya and two directors. "Ethan, what's going on?" she asked, her voice a mix of awe and frustration. He turned, his assertive demeanor softening for a moment. "Amara, we need to talk. But first this." He gestured toward Richard, who forced a smile. "Mr. Caldwell, a surprise. Shall we speak privately?" Ethan's voice was ice. "Amara stays. She deserves to hear this." They moved to a ground-floor meeting room, the air thick with tension. Amara sat beside Ethan, her mind reeling. Her hired date was a billionaire calling the shots. Ethan leaned forward, his gaze locked on Richard. "Based on baseless rumors of shady dealings, you threatened to fire Amara over her connection to me. Care to explain?" Richard shifted, sweating. "We received information about shell companies and unreported transactions." Ethan's laugh was sharp, humorless. "You mean the $2 billion my firm moves legally, audited yearly, or my registered subsidiaries for tax optimization?" He slid a folder across the table, documents proving Caldwell Ventures' legitimacy. Tanya dropped her pen, stunned. Amara's heart pounded. Ethan's power was staggering, but his secrecy stung. "Did you know Caldwell Ventures owns 15% of Pinnacle?" Ethan continued, his voice cutting. "That makes me one of your bosses. Threatening Amara, one of your best employees, over lies from her ex. Unacceptable." Richard paled. "We didn't know." Ethan cut him off. "You didn't ask. I want Derek fired for harassment, a written apology to Amara, and no retaliation. Or I pull every cent of my investment. The industry will know why." The room went silent. Amara saw fear in Richard's eyes, but her own emotions churned gratitude mixed with betrayal. Why hadn't Ethan told her? Richard muttered, "We'll handle it." Ethan stood, adjusting his suit. "By 5:00 p.m. Please don't test me." As they left, Amara followed, her mind a storm. In the elevator, she found her voice. "You're the CEO of Caldwell Ventures. You let me hire you for $500. Ethan's expression softened. "Amara, I should have told you. I care about you truly." She shook her head. "You hid this. How can I trust you?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled back. "I did it to protect you from this world. I'm sorry." His apology felt raw, hinting at a past where trust cost him dearly, perhaps a betrayal in his Wall Street climb from upstate roots. Amara grabbed her things from her desk, the office's hum now suffocating. Derek's scheme, born from jealousy over her professional edge, had backfired, but Ethan's secrecy left a deeper wound. Her campaign pitch, meant to honor her mother's legacy, hung in the balance. As she stepped into Manhattan's vibrant streets, food carts, steaming, jazz notes drifting, she felt exposed. Ethan had saved her job, but at what cost? Amara Johnson stepped out of Pinnacle Holdings into Manhattan's pulsing streets, the city's jazz notes and food cart aromas starkly contrasting to the turmoil in her chest. Ethan Caldwell's dramatic reveal as Caldwell Ventures' CEO had saved her job, forcing Derek's firing and securing an apology from COO Richard Hayes. But his secrecy, hiding his role as a 15% shareholder in Pinnacle, cut deeper than Derek's schemes. Amara's dream of leading a community-focused campaign inspired by her mother's Harlem Community Center felt tainted by Ethan's half-truths. She needed clarity, but the world had other plans. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Texts, emails, notifications. A colleague's message linked to a gossip site. Billionaire CEO Ethan Caldwell dates Pinnacle employee. Grainy photos showed them leaving the Four Seasons gala, strolling in Central Park, entering Ethan's building. Moments she thought were private now splashed across financial blogs. Headlines screamed, conflict of interest, and Pinnacle's risky romance. Amara's stomach churned. Her career built through grit and NYU nights was now a public spectacle. "If this scandal's got you shook, drop 'oh no' in the comments." She'd say, her voice raw for her imagined audience. Back at her desk, whispers followed her. Tanya from HR approached, her eyes soft but nervous. "Amara, you okay? The news is everywhere." Amara forced a nod. "I didn't sign up for this." Tanya sighed. "The board's spooked. Richard wants you in his office now." Amara braced herself, Harlem's resilience steadying her. In Richard's office, he looked weary, not hostile. "Amara, the investors are rattled. They're questioning your relationship with Ethan. Did he get inside information from you?" Her voice was firm. "Never. We barely talked about work." Richard leaned forward. "I believe you, but perception matters. Take a paid leave a month, maybe 2, until this dies down." Amara stood, her anger flaring. "You're sidelining me because of gossip." Richard sighed. "It's damage control, Amara. You're valuable, but we need calm." She left humiliated, and her campaign pitch was a distant dream. The city's Energy Street performers, bustling crowds felt mocking as she walked to a quiet Queen's diner to meet Ethan. He was already there, his navy shirt accentuating his blue eyes, his expression grim. "I saw the articles," he said. "I'm sorry, Amara." She sat, her voice tight. "You're a billionaire CEO. How did you not see this coming?" Ethan's jaw tensed. "We could stay under the radar. I was wrong." Amara leaned in, her Harlem-honed directness cutting through. "Did you know I worked at Pinnacle when you took the $500 gig? Tell me the truth." He hesitated, a flicker of guilt in his eyes. "I found out during our first cafe talk when you mentioned Pinnacle. But it's not why I stayed." Her heart sank. "You knew we had a professional tie and didn't tell me. Were you scoping out Pinnacle?" Ethan's voice was earnest. "No, Amara. I stayed because of you. Your fire, your honesty. Not business." His words tugged at her, but Derek's betrayal had taught her caution. "You hid being a CEO and a shareholder. What else are you hiding?" Ethan opened his mouth, then stopped, his silence damning. Amara stood, grabbing her bag. "I left Derek to escape lies. I won't trade one for another." Her voice cracked. "This is over, Ethan." She walked out, ignoring his plea to wait. The Queen streets, alive with bodega chatter and salsa beats, couldn't drown her pain. If you're feeling Amara's heartbreak, rate this moment 1 to 10 in the comments. She'd call out, her resolve fraying. At her Harlem apartment, Amara booked a flight to Chicago to stay with her friend Keisha. The media frenzy, reporters calling job offers from rival firms, turned her life into a circus. Ethan's texts piled up unanswered. She needed space to protect her career and heart. Her mother's mantra echoed, "Your worth isn't in their words." But Ethan's omission was a betrayal, threatening her dream of impactful marketing. Central Park's lights glowed outside as she packed a reminder of their stolen moments. Amara Johnson stepped off the plane in Chicago, the windy city's crisp air, a sharp contrast to Manhattan's frenetic pulse. Her Harlem roots felt distant as she hugged her friend Keisha at the airport, the weight of the media scandal, and Ethan Caldwell's secrets heavy on her shoulders. The headlines, "Billionaire CEO dates Pinnacle employee," had turned her life into a circus, forcing a paid leave from Pinnacle Holdings and shattering her trust in Ethan. His failure to disclose his role as Caldwell Ventures' CEO and Pinnacle shareholder echoed Derek's betrayals, leaving her raw. Amara joined Keisha on a freelance project for a local nonprofit to clear her head, crafting a marketing plan for a community garden initiative. The work designing flyers, pitching to donors, reignited her passion for campaigns with purpose, like the nonprofit partnership she'd pitched at Pinnacle. Her confidence surged as she presented to a small group at a Southside community center, her Harlem-honed skills shining. She imagined her mother, Nia, cheering her community center legacy alive in Amara's work. This was why she'd fought for her marketing career, not for corporate glory, but impact. The realization sharpened her resolve. She couldn't let the scandal or Ethan's secrets derail her dreams. Keisha noticed the change. "You're glowing out there. What's got you fired up?" Amara smiled. "This work. What I want at Pinnacle campaigns that lift people, not just profits." Keisha nodded. "Then why are you letting some gossip and a guy stop you?" Amara hesitated. Ethan's texts, unanswered, piled up on her phone. His last message read, "I never meant to hurt you. I'll explain everything if you listen." She'd ignored it, but Keisha's words echoed was Ethan's omission. "Fear not malice." Her heart tugged, remembering his gala charm and protective stand against Richard. If you're rooting for Amara's comeback smash, that like button. She'd call out, her spirit lifting. On Thursday, Keisha burst into the apartment, eyes wide. "Amara, turn on the TV." A financial news channel flashed. Caldwell Ventures divests Pinnacle Holdings stake. The anchor detailed Ethan's sale of his 15% share, a move costing millions, citing a strategic shift. Amara's breath caught. Ethan had severed his tie to Pinnacle, eliminating any conflict of interest. Keisha raised an eyebrow. "That's not a small move. Why'd he do it?" Amara's eyes stung with tears. "To prove it wasn't about business. To protect me." The gesture was undeniable, but her trust, bruised by Derek's lies, wavered. What's next for Amara? Drop your predictions in the comments and subscribe. She'd urge, her heart racing. That night, Amara walked along Lake Michigan, Chicago's skyline glittering. The city's resilience mirrored her own, forged in Harlem streets. She thought of her NYU days with Keisha, dreaming of changing the world through marketing. Ethan's secrecy had hurt, but his actions defending her at Pinnacle, selling his shares, spoke louder. Keisha's advice rang true. She needed to ask Ethan calmly, not accuse. Her campaign pitch, career, and heart were worth fighting for. She booked a flight back to New York, determined to face Ethan and reclaim her path. Amara Johnson stepped off the elevator into Ethan Caldwell's Manhattan penthouse, the August 2025 skyline glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows. The Harlem pulse she carried felt alive in her veins, but her heart raced with purpose after her Chicago reflection. Ethan's 15% Pinnacle Holdings stake sale, a multi-million-dollar sacrifice to clear her name, had shifted something inside her. The media frenzy, with headlines like "Billionaire ditches shares for love," still buzzed, but Amara was done running. Keisha's words in Chicago, "Ask him calmly, not accusing," echoed, urging her to seek the truth. Tonight, she'd face Ethan, not as a fake girlfriend, but as a woman ready for answers. Ethan opened the door, his blue eyes wide with surprise, his white shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing a rare vulnerability. "Amara," he said, stepping aside. "You came." With its sleek furniture and Central Park view, the penthouse felt emptier than before, mirroring the distance between them. Amara set her suitcase down, her voice steady. "You sold your Pinnacle shares." Why? Ethan's gaze softened. "To remove any conflict. To prove you weren't a means to an end." She crossed her arms. "I need more than that, Ethan. The whole truth now." If you're hoping for Amara's answers, drop "truth time" in the comments, she'd say, rallying her imagined audience. Ethan gestured to the couch, pulling a folder from a desk drawer. "Sit, please." Amara sat, her Harlem-honed instincts sharp. He handed her the folder, his hands steady but his voice raw. Open it. Inside were printed emails, dozens dated over the past 2 months. The first read, "Amara, your fire at the cafe blew me away. You faced a tough spot with courage, and I can't stop thinking about you." Another, "Tonight at the gala, you owned the room. I'm falling for you, and it scares me." Amara's breath hitched. The words captured their moments. Books and brew, jazz club, talks, her campaign dreams, each a diary of Ethan's heart. "She said you wrote these but never sent them," her voice soft. Ethan nodded, sitting across from her. "I was afraid. I've been burned before, people seeing my money, not me. My upstate roots taught me to work hard, but Wall Street taught me that trust is a luxury. I didn't know you worked at Pinnacle when I saw your escort ad. I took the gig to escape the CEO mask, to be real. Then you mentioned Pinnacle and I froze. I should have told you I was an investor, but didn't want to lose you." His honesty hit her like a subway breeze, raw and bracing. "If you're feeling this moment, smash that like button." She'd urge, her heart stirring. Amara set the folder down, her eyes meeting his. "I've been hurt too, Ethan. Derek used my ambition against me, and your secrets felt like more of the same. I'm always watched and judged as a woman in this corporate game. I can't afford half-truths." Ethan leaned forward, his voice earnest. "I know. I hid my role because I wanted you to see me, not the billionaire. You did. You treated me like an equal, not a bank account. I fell for you, Amara, from that first cafe talk." She paused, remembering his gala charm and his stand against Richard. The emails laid his heart bare, but trust was her hurdle. "Why the $500 gigs at all?" she asked. Ethan sighed. "I built Caldwell Ventures from nothing after years at Goldman and Morgan Stanley. But the higher I climbed, the lonelier it got. Women saw my wealth, not me. Escorting was a way to meet real people with no expectations. You were my third gig. The first was a corporate event, and the second was an elderly widow needing a dance partner. With you, it was different. You challenged me, saw through me." Amara's throat tightened. His words echoed her fight for authenticity in Pinnacle's world. "If you're rooting for their truth, rate this 110 in the comments." She'd call out, her emotions swirling. She stood pacing to the window. Manhattan's lights, a canvas of possibility. The media's still talking. Pinnacle's watching my every move. But your emails, your shares sale, they're real. I want to trust you, Ethan. But I need to know it's not just words. He joined her, his voice soft. "I'm all in, Amara. No more secrets. Let's build something real together." She turned, seeing the man who'd cooked for her, danced with her, and fought for her. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. "But we start fresh. Partners equals." He smiled, a weightlifter. Partners. As they stood, the city humming below, Amara felt a shift. Her campaign dreams, her mother's legacy, and her heart were hers to claim with Ethan by her side. Amara Johnson stood in the Four Seasons Grand Ballroom, the Manhattan skyline shimmering through the windows on this warm August evening in 2025. The venue where her journey with Ethan Caldwell began a year ago buzzed with anticipation for the launch of Johnson Caldwell Sustainable Investments. Amara, in a sleek black blazer, adjusted her notes, her Harlem-rooted confidence steady despite the butterflies. She transformed from a Pinnacle Holdings analyst to CEO, and her dream of impactful marketing is now a reality. In a navy suit, Ethan caught her eye from across the room, his blue eyes warm with pride. Their reconciliation had forged a professional and personal partnership that tonight would cement. The past year had been a whirlwind. After Ethan's honest confession and unsent emails revealing his love, Amara returned to Pinnacle, where her community-focused campaign pitch was approved with a promotion. But her vision outgrew corporate constraints. She and Ethan founded their company focusing on clean energy and community-driven projects. Amara's first pitch, a microfinance program for Harlem entrepreneurs, secured $10 million, her marketing expertise shining as she crafted compelling narratives for investors. The media scandal, once a storm of conflict of interest headlines, had faded thanks to their transparent PR campaign, emphasizing ethical investing. Suppose you're cheering Amara's rise drop CEO vibes in the comments, she'd say, rallying her imagined audience. The ballroom filled with 200 guests, investors, journalists, and Harlem community leaders whose presence honored her mother's legacy. Amara mingled her confidence, honed from pitching to skeptical boards. Tanya from Pinnacle, now a friend, rushed over. "Amara, this is incredible. You're changing the game." Amara smiled, her heart swelling. "Thanks, Tanya. It's just the start." Her campaign skills had evolved, blending data-driven strategies with storytelling that resonated like the community center fundraisers she'd led as a teen. Ethan joined her, his hand brushing hers, a quiet anchor in the crowd's buzz. At 8:00 p.m., the presentations began. Ethan took the stage, his voice steady. "A year ago, I met a woman who asked why I didn't invest in what matters. That question changed everything." He detailed their financial vision: $60 million invested while won 500 jobs created from solar startups to urban farms. "Now I invite our CEO, Amara Johnson, the heart of this company." The applause was warm, and Amara stepped up, her Harlem spirit shining. "My grandmother taught me that money can nourish or destroy. At Johnson Caldwell, we nourish." She spoke of their projects: a Brooklyn vertical farm feeding 3,000 families, a recycling co-op employing 200 in underserved areas, and her microfinance program empowering local entrepreneurs. Her words flowed, each one a testament to her growth. She'd spent months refining her skills, leading investor meetings, and crafting campaigns that married profit with purpose. The Harlem leaders in the crowd nodded, their presence grounding her. "What makes me proudest isn't the numbers," she said, "but the stories families fed, dreams funded." The applause roared, and Ethan's smile from the sidelines fueled her. "If Amara's vision inspires you, smash that like button." She'd call out, her passion infectious. After her speech, a journalist approached. "Ms. Johnson, how do you balance leading with your partner Ethan? Any conflict concerns?" Amara's response was polished, a nod to their PR efforts. "Ethan and I are co-founders, first life partners. Second, our work is transparent, every deal audited, every goal shared. At home, he still does the dishes." The journalist laughed, the scandal's shadow dispelled. Their openness, from press releases to community outreach, had turned media scrutiny into praise, with Forbes calling them ethical investing's power couple. "Rate this launch 110 in the comments." She'd urge, basking in their triumph. As the event wound down, Amara and Ethan stood by the windows, the city's lights a canvas of their shared future. "You were incredible," Ethan said, his hand finding hers. "So were you," she replied, her heart full. This was her legacy, built from Harlem's lessons, her mother's mantra, and a $500 gamble that became love. Amara Johnson stood on the stage of the Four Seasons Ballroom, the Manhattan skyline twinkling beyond the windows on this August evening in 2025. The launch of Johnson Caldwell Sustainable Investments had just ended, and her speech about nourishing communities through ethical investing met with roaring applause. Her Harlem-rooted strength, honed by her mother's legacy, shone as she stepped down, Ethan Caldwell's proud smile anchoring her. Their journey from a $500 escort gig to co-founders in love had transformed them, and tonight felt like a crescendo. But Ethan had one more surprise. As the crowd thinned, Ethan took the microphone, his navy suit sharp. his blue eyes gleaming. Before we close, I have a question for Amara. The room hushed, 200 guests, investors, journalists, Harlem, community leaders, turning to watch. Amara's heart raced, her campaign-honed instincts sensing a shift. Ethan stepped closer, pulling a small box from his pocket. Amara Johnson, you changed my life. You taught me success isn't dollars, but impact the lives we touch, the dreams we build. He knelt, opening the box to reveal a diamond ring, its band engraved with $500, a nod to their first contract. Will you be my partner forever in business and life? Tears welled in Amara's eyes, the crowd fading as she saw the man who'd fought for her, cooked for her, loved her through her doubts. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, I will. The room erupted, cameras flashing as Ethan slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her, the Manhattan lights a backdrop to their promise. If that proposal gave you chills, drop forever in the comments. She'd say, her joy spilling to her imagined audience. They left the stage, hand in hand, the Four Seasons, where their story began, a perfect circle. Later, alone by the ballroom windows, Amara laughed, touching the ring. You planned this, didn't you? Ethan grinned. Every detail is right here where it started. She shook her head, remembering her desperate gala plan to outshine Derek. And now look at us. Ethan's voice softened. I was bored, craving a real connection. You saw me, Amara, not the CEO. She nodded, her mother's mantra. Your worth isn't in their words echoing. And you saw me, not just an analyst. The next morning, over coffee in Ethan's penthouse, Amara found a framed document on the table, their original escort contract marked, paid in love, return infinite. She laughed, tears brimming. You're impossible. Ethan winked. And you love me. Their wedding months later in Central Park near Books and Brew was intimate, with Keisha and Harlem friends cheering. Johnson Caldwell thrived, and Forbes named Amara Young CEO of the Year for their $80 million in ethical investments. Once a storm, the media scandal was history. Their transparent PR, open interviews, community events, winning public trust. If you're loving this ending, smash that like button. She'd call out, her heart full. 2 years later, at a friend's event, Derek approached, his arrogance gone. Amara, I was jealous. You were always better than I at Pinnacle. I'm sorry. She smiled, firm. I forgive you, Derek, but I'm happy with my husband. Ethan nearby said nothing, his presence enough. Amara's story, shared with friends or journalists, always ended the same. I paid $500 for one night and got a lifetime of love and purpose. As they stood on their penthouse balcony, Manhattan's jazz notes drifting up, Amara knew her Harlem dreams had built a legacy with Ethan. Rate this finale 110 in the comments and subscribe for more stories. She'd say her forever was just beginning.